Every 100 years or so, a hero is born. Someone to rise from obscurity, a silent hero to pick up the slack that we all leave behind. And I am happy that in my lifetime I was able to bear witness to the rise of such a hero. And a hero who doesn't get the recognition they deserve, but a hero nonetheless. And that hero is Burt Gummer.
Burt Gummer.
Burt Gummer, a true American hero.
He's a worldwide hero.
He's a worldwide hero. He doesn't even like the government, but he's an American hero. Yeah. If you can't tell, we're talking Tremors today, people. This has been one of my long-awaited reviews for one of my favorite movies.
Yes, Tremors. Exciting day.
There's a very good chance that Tremors is probably, it might be one of the very first movies that got me into creature feature type movies.
Okay. Yeah.
It was back in the day when sci-fi had those sci-fi original series, sci-fi original movies.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were good, sometimes they were shit, but I enjoyed them nonetheless. And I could always count on every so often I'd see Tremors on there, and mwah.
Exactly. Like Tremors is just, it's a fun movie.
And when we said that we were going to be doing our season of personal favorites, that one was actually first and foremost in front of my mind. I know we did 1408 first, but that one was kind of my first one that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And it was one that you actually had seen. So
yeah.
And it seems like you kind of have the same passion for that movie as I do.
Yeah. Like I watched Tremors and Tremors 2 last night, and then before we started recording, I watched Tremors 3.
Yeah, I've seen, I believe, 3. I might have seen 4, but I keep it like a trilogy in my mind. I know they recently came out with one not too long ago.
Yeah, I think there's either 5 or 6 of them.
I might need to go back and see if 4 and 5 or whatever still hold up, but the first 3 definitely do.
Yeah.
Even if the CG, when they started going away from practical effects and going more into CG, even though it wasn't that great, it was still enjoyable.
Yeah, the bad CG doesn't take away from the movie.
Yes, but we'll get into all of that when we get into the actual movie bit. But first, as we started with the very first episode of me and Dave's reviews, we have a little bit of homework assignment to take care of. So
a little bit of homework this week.
A little bit of homework, so to further increase our movie repertoire. Last time I had to watch The Exorcist. I say had to. It was, it's a privilege to watch these movies.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it for what it was, even though I'm not really big on possession or paranormal movies. And Dave watched. He definitely had a worse time with Intruders.
Intruders, yeah.
But they're not always going to be, winners.
No.
But let's see if I gave him a better time this time. So you had what, Dave?
I had Lake Mungo.
Lake Mungo.
Which is basically the Australian version of the Poughkeepsie tapes, but just not as good.
Does that mean you didn't like it again? Did I give you another one you didn't like?
It wasn't. It's not a bad movie. It's just a very slow burn. And almost slow enough to the point where it creeps into boring territory.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Although, well, go ahead for those who don't know what Lake Mungo is. Tell them what kind of movie it is and your experience with it.
It's like a mockumentary / found footage movie about a family whose daughter was killed, and then weird things keep happening to the family, and they're unraveling secrets about their daughter's life.
Yes, it is a like you said, a mockumentary, like interviews with the family type thing after all of this stuff has happened.
Yeah,
so
it's a movie you have to be in the mood for.
Yes,
and I just feel like it probably didn't catch me on the right day.
Now,
if that makes sense,
I've had those movies before where like I watched them and it's like, I think if it caught me on a different day, I would have probably liked it.
Yeah.
That one I think did catch me on a good day because, well, I much like you, when it was a slow build for me, but there were a few near the end. I will say that I did get a one creeped out scene, and that's near the
Yeah,
end where
towards the very end.
yes,
Yeah,
the distorted face looking stuff.
yeah.
Or
All that at the end was creepy, but it just
you gotta wait a little while to get there.
yeah. The movie felt a lot longer than it actually was. I'm not even sure how long it is, but
Which I know it was a weird recommendation for me when I was bitching about The Exorcist being like slow in the very beginning.
yeah.
But then
Yeah,
again,
Lake Mungo is an hour and a half, but it felt like it's a 2.5 hour movie.
I guess I just like I like found footage type movies, so it didn't feel that way to me.
Yes,
So
so do I. I usually into these movies, but I don't know. Something about this one just didn't click for me, or it just caught me on the wrong day. Like, have you ever seen the Poughkeepsie tapes?
I have not seen that.
Yeah, like the style in which this is shot is very similar to that movie, but I just like the Poughkeepsie tapes a lot more.
I think I had watched Lake Mungo around the time where I was binging a lot of like documentary type movies, like the Ted Bundy tapes and
Yeah.
American Murderer, the Murderer Next Door, and all that stuff.
Okay.
I think I had been like on a binge of just documentary style type movies anyway. So maybe I was just like in the
Yeah.
mood for that kind of movie at the time.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It just maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe it just caught me on the wrong day. It didn't do anything that like made me upset or I was just like, wow, I can't believe I'm watching this. Just
It's kind of like Skinamarink. It's like I'm not
yeah,
upset at this movie. It's like
it's just not for me. Yeah,
I can understand that. All right,
yeah,
well, so that means I'm 0 for 2 with you, but let's
yeah.
go. Let's go ahead and give it your breakdown, your rating.
Rating okay. So like the technical cinematography, I'm probably gonna give that like a 7.5 because I do enjoy that style of filming.
It's shot well.
Yeah, it's shot really well. The story, I'd say a 6,
Hmm.
and the enjoyment probably at a 5. So
Again, it's fair, and a lot
so
of these
18.5 out of 30 isn't bad. So
and a lot of these movies, were much like with our season of bad movies. I'm not gonna like a lot of these movies, but I'm glad that I watched them just so I can have them in my
repertoire of things I've seen. Yeah,
yeah. And I've actually been seeing a little bit more people talking about like that movie came out quite a while ago, but I've seen a resurgence of people talking about it as of late.
yeah. I think like Mungo came out in 2008, I believe.
Around that in the
Yeah,
earlier
2008. Yeah,
earlier 2000s, yeah.
yeah, 2008. So
All right. Well, do you want me to give you your next one now or after I review mine?
afterwards we'll just give them to each other. Yeah,
Okay, so we'll go into mine then.
yeah,
So you gave me another found footage. We both gave each other like mockumentary type movies. Mine was a foreign movie from this one's Japan or was it Korea?
it's Korea's first found footage horror. Yeah,
Ah, okay. Korea's first found footage horror movie called Gonjiam Haunted Asylum.
yeah,
Let me just bust out my notes because I always have my thing of notes with me whenever even if it's just for these small ones.
yeah.
So basically, the general premise, Horror Times is this streaming show, horror show where everybody is going to get. It's
Yeah,
a group of
it's a YouTube show basically.
YouTube show with a bunch of influencers trying to check out these haunted places, and in this case, it's a haunted asylum called Gonjiam, and basically, the more views that they get, they're trying to reach 1 million views on their live stream. The more money they get, basically.
Basically, yeah.
And I just put part of my first thing. I said, influencers and ghosts. Only one of those things scare me, and it ain't ghosts. So again, this is found footage, but more Blair Witchy in that with the docu-series that I gave you, or the mockumentary, it's documentary style, so the cameras are very still. It's like people being interviewed type thing. This one is everyone's wearing GoPros.
Yeah, very GoPro heavy movie.
GoPro heavy movie, very
Shaky cam, yeah.
Yeah, shaky cam. So there are two different kinds of ways that you can do these kind of mockumentaries, and this one is very much in the style that you would think of a bunch of streamers, going off to, film something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also means that you get a variety of different kinds of camera angles.
Yeah.
So they do play. Now, I want to thank South Korea for proving that it's not just white people who like to fuck around with evil spirits.
Right, we're not the only ones, people.
We're not the only ones, and we're not the only ones who go into haunted places and like to mess around and laugh in the face of evil spirits. Apparently, dumb is just dumb all around.
Yeah.
Now, much like how you were saying, I do like found footage movies, although they're not usually my go-to. I have to be in the right mood for them. Now,
yeah,
I'll probably say I probably had a little bit of a better time on this one because this one is more of a. This one isn't a slow burn. It's a 90-minute movie, and I'd say by the 15-minute mark, we're pretty much in full gear.
We're going into the asylum at that point. Yeah,
yeah, we're in the asylum. We're running around, and we're checking out these, things.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have the first 10, 15 minutes to kind of like set the stage.
Introduce the characters, get you endearing to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, eventually you find out, spoilers from here on, but eventually you find out that a lot of this stuff is staged. A lot of the scares are staged by the host, which they called Captain in the show. And he's actually ignoring a lot of the actual legit dangers because got to get it for the views.
Yeah, he's don't give a fuck about anybody but getting this money.
And the thing, so you have a bunch of these. I'd say about 2 or 3 of those other people were in on like the ruse, and there's 2 or 3 other people who they're trying to get genuine reactions from.
Well, he has his team in there.
Yes,
his team that he always works with, and then they brought on 3 random people that he selected out of like his followers.
Yes.
That's how you got your band of characters. So 3 are in on it, 3 aren't. So,
and then you got the guy who's basically heading the whole thing.
Yeah.
And what makes me laugh about this is that you had the 3 people who are like, they're playing it up for the camera and stuff like that. And you even have this one girl, I think it was Charlotte, who like spray painted her name on the wall and stuff like that, saying, I'm tagging this place like I tag all the other places I go, blah, blah, blah. And then when later on, somebody's messing with some of the cursed objects, and she's like, "Don't be touching that," and stuff like that. I just like, I love the lines that they draw in this movie. It's cool to trespass and film on haunted grounds, but don't touch anything. You can disturb the evil spirits, but don't pick up that doll, and you can spray paint your name on the walls, but you don't want to disrespect the ghosts here.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff just makes me like, what?
Inconsistent line draws. Yeah.
Which I expect nothing less from influencers.
Yeah.
Some, I'll say. I mean, not all influencers are bad people, but I don't know. I get irked. When the bad ones ruin it for, the annoying ones ruin it for a lot of the other legit ones. So eventually the ghosts come up and they start, terrorizing the people. And it very much gets very Blair Witchy. And I don't just mean that because of it being found footage. I mean that even like person standing off in the corner with their back turned to the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you okay? And he's obviously not okay.
Obviously not doing great over there.
I'll go ahead and break this down with the ratings.
All right.
Technicals. See, now the thing with found footage is I don't know sometimes if I want the footage to. Well, I mean, because do you know when this came out?
I want to say 2018, but give me a second. Yeah, 2018.
I'll say that it's weird, the era that we're living in, just because found footage now doesn't really have an aesthetic to it because the quality of camera work that we all have available to us now is pretty much professional quality.
Yeah.
So there's no like grainy footage, which I actually like grainy looking footage, old, shot on film look. That's an aesthetic I personally like, and I think adds to like a found footage type movie.
Yeah, but nowadays, if you're gonna have that aesthetic, you're gonna have to have the movie take place like 15 years in the past or so,
Like it has to be a movie from like the 70s or 80s or something or
or
90s.
the 90s or early 2000s, like Lake Mungo. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, so I can't knock it against that. It's just it's I don't know. The technicals are good. It was fine, and you get plenty of varying shots. I think they overuse the fisheye lens and GoPro lens a little bit.
yeah,
But I'm going to be fair and just say, I mean, it honestly felt like the type of show that it was trying to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one. I'll give it the same as like Mungo, which will be 7.5 because
all right, yeah,
it looked exactly the kind of aesthetic that a show like that's streaming on YouTube would have.
yeah,
Um, storyline. The storyline's pretty straightforward. I mean,
yeah.
it is. I'm trying to think because I want to be fair because I would say a 5 is kind of like a run of the mill score for me because I'm gonna say 5 just because you kind of know what's gonna happen. You know pretty much what's gonna happen. The story isn't anything spectacular. It's not bad,
All right,
but it is run of the mill. And as for enjoyment, I will give it a 7. For what it was. Was done well, and I did enjoy a couple of the shots. I had to watch it in subtitles, but that doesn't bug me at all.
no, yeah, yeah. I don't think there's a dub version of the movie.
Which
Or
I don't mind
no,
subtitles.
yeah,
It was fine for a found footage movie about ghosts and influencers. I would say that there was enough that I mean, I probably won't go out of my way to see it again, just because a lot of it is shrouded in darkness.
yeah,
But it kind of has to be. You know, you have this movie had drones, power tools, and all sorts of stuff, but at no point does anybody ever think in these kind of scenarios, why don't we bring these big lamps and stuff like that so we can see where we're going? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
or even like, you know what? Let's show up during the day and at least scope the place out during the day. So, make sure that there's no crazy people in there. Make sure that there's no wild animals running around in there. And, make sure the place ain't going to crumble down while we're like inside it.
Yeah, make sure it's safe to actually be in there.
So now I can't just, knock the movie for that because that's just dumb people being dumb people, which I wouldn't expect anything less from like a ghost show.
Yeah, a ghost YouTube show that, yeah, like they're not gonna scout it first, so
I mean, they're not even supposed to be there. In all honesty, they're trespassing already.
yeah.
So it's not like I can really knock it for that. That's just a criticism for that kind of movie in general. So I'll go ahead and say, for what it was, it could have been a lot more annoying, but for what it was, I'll give it about a 7, 5 for story, and I say 7 for technical.
Okay. So 19 overall.
So we got about the same about enjoyment from watching these things. So, all right. So I'm gonna get. You said that was boring. I'm gonna give you a 180 then.
Okay.
For your pick, I'm gonna give you a 4 and 1.
Okay.
You're going to Japan.
All right.
You're going to watch Tetsuo.
Can you spell that for me?
Tetsuo. It's called Tetsuo Iron Man.
Okay.
You're gonna get a little Japanese cyberpunk body horror.
All right.
So you were a little bit bored. I will give you a shot of adrenaline that you need.
Okay. And for you, I'm gonna give you 30 miles from nowhere.
30 miles from nowhere.
Yeah.
All right, let me write that down. Is that here in the States or is that
it's a American horror movie. Came out in 2018, so
30 miles from nowhere.
It's a movie I found last October. Really enjoyed it, so.
And Tetsuo was recommended to me during my 31 days of horror during October.
Right.
And I was getting recommendations from people. Lake Mungo was one of those that was recommended to me, and Tetsuo was another one, which I probably enjoyed this one. Well, I enjoy a good body horror movie anyway, so.
For me, body horror is kind of, for the most part, I like them, but there's some that just, not my thing, but we'll see.
I'll say, or I could say this, because I was juggling between two of them. I was like, you can either have a body horror or you can have a musical.
I'll do the body horror. I do like a lot of Japanese horror movies, so
All right. this is this
that's
this
actually in my wheelhouse. So
I was gonna say this is the season where Dave our differences are becoming way more apparent because I gave him 0 for 2 of movies that I started out with one like, oh, this is a nice Sam Raimi. He might enjoy the practical effects. God, this movie sucked.
why the fuck am I watching this movie?
I was like,
I
all
gotta
right, well,
say, a giant step up between movie 1 and 2, though.
and I was like, all right, well, how about Lake Mungo? This one's like at a 98 or 97% on the old Rotten Tomato meter. It's a different kind of style, different kind of movie altogether. Oh, God, this movie was boring. I'm like, damn, all right.
My movie taste is weird. It's like, it's not really a certain kind, but I like what I like, you know.
I gave him one bad movie and one boring movie, and he gave me a classic, The Exorcist, and a found footage haunted asylum movie. So.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is the one I just gave you is a psychological horror, so.
All right, well, I like a good psychological horror, so.
Yeah. I figured something. I was like, I think you might enjoy this, so.
All right. I'm gonna come back. Like, if you hate the next one, I'm gonna come back and be like, I'm just gonna, out of pettiness, just like downvote all of the recommendations that you had for this season, just out of pettiness.
Out of it, like, damn.
But let's go to a movie that we both actually like. The one that for our movie pick, our shout out for this episode, and that is Tremors.
Yes. And I put out a tweet earlier today that perfectly describes how I feel about Tremors.
What did it say?
It's impossible to watch Tremors and be in a bad mood at the same time.
It's people are dying left and right, but it's just a feel good movie to me.
It is. Great story.
You got the info up on there. Let's shout out some of these. If you don't know already who is in this.
I mean,
the big name actor off the top of my head.
Kevin Bacon.
It's Kevin Bacon, my favorite kind of bacon.
He was the star of this movie alongside Fred Ward.
Yes, Fred Ward.
And then you had Mike Gross playing Burt Gummer, who's one of the best characters.
It's so good that they made him the recurring character for when the show became like a series of movies on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, so and his wife is played by country music legend Reba McEntire.
I forget that sometimes.
Yeah, I know a couple of her songs, but I really know her from a sitcom she had out in like the late 90s, early 2000s called Reba.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have cable growing up, so we'd watch that every Friday night when it came on.
Yeah, we just had regular old, yeah.
Yeah.
WGN,
yeah.
So, for those who haven't seen the one sentence sum up, if you want to just kind of know what it is, and then you stop here so you don't get any spoilers, the one sentence sum up. What's the valley that they live in?
Perfection Valley.
Perfection Valley, out in the middle of nowhere, the desert nowhere. All of a sudden, the ground begins to rumble, and people start to go missing. And I'll just leave it at that. And giant worms.
Worms are eating people.
El Blanco.
Yeah.
But it is so much more than that. It is more than would you say that this is like a bee creature feature? Kind of feels like it.
But I also feel like it's kind of like has fun, pokes fun in itself.
Oh, it's aware of how ridiculous it is.
So I kind of put it in there with like horror movies, kind of like Cabin in the Woods and
yes, this is a funny movie.
Tucker vs. Evil. Yes, it's a horror comedy. I don't know if the first one's considered horror comedy because they seem to lean into it more. Yes, the franchise, but this one they still do have a lot of comedy in it. Even the banter just between Ward and Kevin Bacon's character, like they've been they're handymen out in the desert, which it's miles and miles of desert. And like only like a dozen or so people live out in the desert, and they're like the handymen of the town. They empty out the people's sewage septics. Yeah. They go and like repair like busted down like fences. That's how they make their living. Anything you need fixed, these two do it. So, and they are trying to get the fuck out because they have aspirations of bigger and better things. Bixby, Nevada. And then all of a sudden, like people start going missing. And they find out that they can't just drive out of the valley without rustling up some noise,
which attracts El Blanco.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's El Blanco in this one. I don't think they started calling it El Blanco in the later ones, but I'm calling it El Blanco.
Yeah. Like each time they try to escape the town, something happens.
Yeah,
First
somebody
they
goes.
stop
Yeah.
to help them out, and then the second time they're almost out of town, and they have to stop because they see the town drunk up on the
Telephone line.
electric line. He's up there, and they think he just got drunk, climbed up there, and fell asleep. So they're like, "Oh, we got to get him down. Can't leave him up there."
Find out the dude starved to death up there.
Yeah, he died of dehydration sitting up there for a few days.
Yeah, dehydration rather.
Yeah, that shows how far this guy was out of town because someone sitting on a telephone line for 3 days. You'd think someone would see him, but
Now I will say that now, and the reason why the first one is always going to stand out is because also, I'm the sucker for practical effects, and all of these are practical effects. The giant worm it feels like it's there. It has tentacles, and they are like animatronics and prosthetics, which, like I said, that's my wheelhouse right there.
yeah, the practical effects are pretty solid. I mean, there's a couple scenes where you're just like,
That's a puppet. Like, that's a puppet, obviously.
You're like, oh, that's awful, but it doesn't take away from the movie.
And I gotta say, one of the big reasons why is definitely the characters. The characters are so fun to watch. Even before Burt Gummer comes on, you like Burt Ward and Kevin Bacon's character.
Yeah, this movie does a really good job endearing you to the people of this small town of Perfection, Nevada.
Except for one.
Oh, there's always one.
What's that little freaking
Melvin.
kid's name? Melvin. He so bad he made it on my list back in my season of Chris Hates Kids.
Yeah.
Yes, they do a good job at making Melvin unlikable, which they're supposed to make. He's not supposed to be a likable character.
But goddamn, he is so unlikable.
He is very even when everybody is trying to figure stuff out and figure out stuff is already starting to happen, and they're trying to figure out, all right, what is going on around here, and he's sitting there making jokes and jump scaring people.
Yeah, almost to the point where you're rooting for everyone in this movie to survive except for Melvin. You're just can they eat this motherfucker already?
It's I would not be too I don't want anybody to die, but I wouldn't shed a tear if I would take him over the store owner who unfortunately got it.
Rest in peace, Mr. Is it Chung or Wong?
I don't know, but I think he was the uncle from Three Little Ninjas.
Love that movie.
I think that was the same guy.
Three Ninjas was my jam growing up.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Yeah, he was Walter Chang.
Walter Chang, yeah.
Played by Victor Wong.
Can you see if that was the same guy? I'm fairly certain it was.
I'm bringing up his Wikipedia right now.
I said Three Little Ninjas.
And then his niece takes over the store in Tremors 3, and she's also a really likable character. Yeah,
I like her too. I don't know if I like necessarily the guy character that they introduced in the third one. He started becoming okay, but I didn't necessarily him or even the other guy in the second one that wasn't Burt Ward, but who was partnered up with Burt Ward.
You could tell this franchise was struggling to find
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Which I think that if they just kept Burt Ward, it would have been fine. I think he was if you would have had Burt Ward and Burt Gummer, and Michael Gross, that's your duo right there.
Yeah. Same guy.
Yep, thought so. So yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen those movies in forever, but they were so good.
That was my childhood. Movies like Little Ninjas.
Three Ninjas, yeah.
I don't know why I keep wanting to call it Little Ninjas and Three Little Ninjas. It's just Three Ninjas.
Well, it's Three Ninjas, but it's about they're basically little kids that are ninjas.
Yeah,
they're beating up full-grown adults.
I really and they're fighting very much in the style of Power Rangers.
Yeah, it's great.
I wanted one of those masks when I was a kid.
Oh, those masks were so sick.
All right, I'm getting off topic. I'm going down my rabbit hole of my childhood.
Yeah.
But back to Tremors.
So our townspeople you got Val and Earl, which are our two main characters, played by Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, the handyman we were talking about. Then you got Walter Chang, the store owner, because they have this one just community store everyone goes to, and it kind of just has everything you need, or you'll order what you need. It's a small town,
It's
so.
just a little grocery store.
And then you got Burt and Heather Gummer, who are kind of like survivalists.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm not like a big gun guy, but when you see their collection of guns, you're like, oh my god, that looks like it'd be so much fun.
Right? Yeah.
They
They
have,
have an arsenal.
and they are very much like the like anti-government. Would you say conspiracy theory?
Yeah, they are very much your backwoods conspiracy survivalists who are just like anti-government, anti-everything, basically.
They have like their armory full of guns and MREs in case like government comes to
Yeah.
take their that. But and if you're not that person, you know a person like that. They're just so likable,
Yeah.
like or especially Bert because he's just and he comes to the rescue when
Yeah.
everybody is in need. He comes packing.
Yeah. And then you got Rhonda Lebeck, the college student studying seismology,
Hmm.
played by Finn Carter. She's working on her PhD, and so everyone keeps looking for her for answers, and she's like,
I'm just a seismologist.
"Yeah, I say seismology, not random fucking giant worms in the desert, guys. I don't know."
If this was an earthquake, I could tell you what it's about, but I mean, this is like not my wheelhouse.
And they're
A-
all like, "Well, you're the college student."
And she's also there to be the love interest for Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I
Um,
think in the fifth one, their daughter actually arrives in this franchise.
I would say it's kind of forced. I mean, but you do see them have little moments, but
Yeah,
I think that part of her character being there is to give just Kevin Bacon a love interest. Because
yeah,
he's very he has in his mind he has like the idea of like perfect woman, tall, tall, thin, big cans and blonde
yeah,
hair, and she is very much medium height, regular build, and brunette hair. And
yeah. And it's more like Earl Bassett that's pushing him towards her.
you need to settle down, kid, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, like you're perfection, man.
Yeah,
Gotta take what you got, man.
take what you got, man. I mean, it's like you don't
There's 12 people here.
got 12 people here, and like one of them's either married, another one has a kid,
Yeah,
and the other one is a kid. So.
yeah. So, and then you got Miguel, played by Tony Gennaro.
Hmm.
He's
Uh,
not a big role. He has a couple lines here and there, but he
uh,
survives.
he survives. He's there. He's a another. He is a just another competent member of the pleasant or
Community, yeah.
the community. Other than Melvin, I can't really think of any unlikable characters. Everybody was written and played their parts fairly well.
Yeah,
I mean, even Melvin played his part well, but I mean, he's supposed to be annoying, but I think that could have made him a little less. And again, it's just a fun creature feature that
yeah,
knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to be anything other than a goofy giant worm is eating the citizens of the desert movie.
yeah.
Enough so that they made, like you said, 4 or 5 sequels out of it.
Yeah. I think it's like has a cult following for this franchise.
Yeah, it's not one that gets mentioned in any conversations, really, though.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate for me, or to me, I think is unfortunate because it's really fun. But it's not. It's kind of like Leslie Vernon that when
Yeah.
you're happy when you run into somebody who knows it and talks about it, you're like, oh, I'm glad to see another one who appreciates fine art.
Yeah. You understand that this movie is good. Because there are
And
some people that are just looking at the effects like, oh, no, it's trash. I'm like, no, it's really good, guys. I promise.
it does show that when you well, what's the budget for this? Do you since you have the info up there, what was the budget for this?
The budget for. Uh, that can't be right.
What is it like 100 million? Well,
Uh, uh, a $10 million budget, but this is back in 1990, so that's a pretty big budget.
for a sci-fi original, well, I mean,
The
I don't know
first
if
one
the
wasn't
sequel. I was just
the
about to
first
say.
one wasn't a sci-fi. This one came out in theaters
I was about to say. I think the sequels were sci-fi originals.
because it made a 16.7 million in box office. So
I just know I used to see it all the time on the Sci-Fi Channel. I guess it was after. What year did it come out?
1990.
Yeah, so so I wouldn't. I mean, that came out before I was born. So when I saw it, it would have been on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, the second one came out in 96 and the third one 2001.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Those ones were direct-to-video sequels, so those are probably the ones that came out on Sci-Fi.
That's kind of one I wish I would have saw in theaters. That would have probably been fun to see in theaters.
Yeah.
But, so did it make its money back?
It made $16.7 million, so...
So they made it
in
money.
the green, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It made a profit.
Yeah, exactly. I was not expecting a $10 million budget.
Well, I think, that explains a lot because the sequels are definitely a downgrade in terms of some there's less practical effects. There are still some when you have the big worm, but they eventually get to the point where they're no longer worms. They're kind of evolving into land roaming creatures.
Yeah.
And those are mostly CG.
Yeah.
Especially when there's more than one of them on screen. And when you watch it now, you go, whoa, that CG is obvious.
Yeah.
But it's still enjoyable even then.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot of this budget was on the cast. I mean, 1990 Reba was pretty big back then, and
Kevin Bacon was making blockbuster movies.
Yeah,
he was making blockbusters at that time.
And Fred Ward was probably pretty big at the time as well.
I have to look back. The one who played the little girl, is that the same girl from Jurassic Park?
The one that played the little girl?
The one that was on the pogo stick.
All right, that is Ariana Richards. Let's look at her filmography.
I'm fairly certain that's the same girl from Jurassic Park.
It is.
Do it. Here's your little fun fact. She went on to do some better movies. Well, movies that had a lot bigger budget.
And she also played the same character in Tremors 3.
Yep. Oh, that was her back when so that was her when she got older and was in there back when they had the ass blasters, I think they called them, the flying ones. Yeah,
the debut of the ass blasters is Tremors 3.
I mean, if that title right there doesn't make you want to go and check out this series, you have shriekers, you have ass blasters, and you have the regular worms, graboids.
Graboids, yeah.
Those are what the main worms are called. They're called graboids because they grab you.
Yeah, they will come out of the ground and grab you.
So I think we've filleted this movie quite a bit. So do you want to go ahead and go into kills or scenes? I'll say
there's a lot of good scenes. Kills. I'd probably go with the doctor and his wife because that's the first time you really see how much damage a graboid could do. Because it swallows her in the car. So
that was going to be my pick, but I'm gonna go on the flip side and show exactly how much damage a graboid can take, and that's when he rams into Burt Gummer's armory and they just unload on that thing.
That is a great scene too.
They unload so much firepower on this thing, and the thing that finally took it out was an elephant gun.
Yeah. Like, they are just unloading clips, and as soon as they're out, dropping a gun, grabbing another one. And they do this. It's like a 3 to 4 minute scene of them just shooting the graboid. And that's a lot of guns. When you see their wall of just guns, you're like, and they just pistol, rifle, and then flare gun, and then he just busts out this gigantic double-barreled elephant gun, and it took a couple shots of that, and then it finally went down. Yeah. And then he says, then Burt says something funny. He says, he yells at it after he kills it. I forget what he says. Burt says so many quotable things in this thing. Yeah, all throughout the franchise, he has a lot of good, at least quirky one-liners.
I will say that they definitely play up his humor as the series goes on. Yeah. He's a little more serious in this one. He's still funny. He still has some funny lines here and there, but he gets funnier in the second and third as the movie as the show goes on. All right, let's go down to ratings.
Ratings, all right.
All right, Technicals.
Technicals for me, I'd probably go. We go about. We'll go with the six.
You're gonna go with the six?
Yeah, because there are some scenes that made me go, "Oh, all right."
Like those effects didn't age well, kind of thing.
Yeah, like there's one scene, like during that where they're shooting the graboid,
Mm-hmm.
and she shoots like the its extended tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and the camera lings on it, and you could tell it was just something breaking into plaster.
Yeah. I mean,
And the camera linged on it a little bit too long. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
there and there are like when the little mini tentacle snake tongue things come out, you just look at those and you're like, that is obviously a puppet.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna give it a 7 just because that's heavily biased for me because I'm always gonna love those effects.
Yeah.
Plus, I did think that like the scene of the car going down into the ground was a good shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's shot, well as well. There's a lot of cameras that are, that opening scene from Evil Dead where it's that through the forest shot, like first person thing through the woods.
Yeah.
Like, they have that, but it's on the ground, like from the point of view. You can't really see the point of view of the Tremors because it's just dirt.
Yeah.
But you see it like on the ground of him moving and stuff like that. It's kind of that same similar kind of shot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a 7. It was, I can understand you giving it a 6 for those effects, but it hits me a little bit better.
All right. Story.
Pretty
It's
damn
a
good
fun
story.
story. Yeah, it's a fun story.
It's a fun story. I mean, it is a basic creature feature of a town trying. It is Jaws on land,
Yeah. But it is fun, so I'd probably give it an 8.
and as a concept for a creature, it's pretty original. It's
The story makes sense, easy to follow. And
Uh,
Tremors is an original creature, so
It's an original creature. At some point, they spend time trying to figure out where it's from, and then eventually they just go like, "Who fucking cares?"
cares.
Like,
We just gotta kill these things, yeah.
they say maybe it's an alien. Is one way they say, well, maybe it's been here since the Precambrian age, and then then they're like, "Look, who cares? We just need to get out of here."
Yeah.
Which is why you can keep making movies like that when you acknowledge, all right, we ain't gonna waste time figuring out where these things came from. It's just, hey, these creatures are what they are, and they're here to kill people.
They're here now, and they're killing people, so we gotta figure it out now. Alright.
It is exactly what it needs to be, and yes, I'm giving it an 8.
Okay. Enjoyment. I'm gonna stick at 8. I enjoy the hell out of this movie.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Okay.
8.5 for me because it's one of those movies that when it's on, I'm watching it, and it's not always foremost in my mind and at the front, but when I hear about it, I'm always happy whenever I hear other people who know about it. So I'm giving that a good old 8.5. I was debating if I wanted to give it a 9, but very few things are worthy of the 9-10. But I'd say 8.5 is pretty fair for me.
All right, so overall, 22 out of 30 for me, and then 23.5 out of 30 for you.
Yeah, great, good movie. I very much enjoy. Like, to put that into perspective, a movie like Cabin in the Woods, we gave like 27 or 28.
Yeah,
but that has a bigger budget going for it and an original concept as well. So
it's a good movie. It ages well, even though the effects don't age well. You could still watch it, enjoy it in this day. So
I mean, it's the same thing with like Star Wars. If you go back and see some of the effects of the original Star Wars, it's like if you're judging it by today's standards, it's like but for
a movie that came out 33 years ago
with a $10 million budget, which a lot of it probably went to the cast.
Yeah, so it was a very fun watch.
But will it be as good as our next one? What is our next one, Dave?
All right, so I'm going to stay in the horror comedy but I'm gonna pick a much more recent one that I know we both enjoy, and I'm gonna go with The Menu.
Ah, The Menu.
Yes.
Oh man, that has become, again, over the past year, that has become in my top 5 of movies that I've seen within this past year.
I think it might be the best movie I've seen in the past 12 months.
We've reviewed Anya Taylor-Joy, in Last Night in Soho.
Yes.
Glad to see her, on the rise.
Yeah.
And for a movie that I thought was, when I saw it, I just heard the concept of, or I just saw the concept of Ralph Fiennes as a like Gordon Ramsay type chef.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll watch that just because I like Ralph Fiennes. And I think Ralph Fiennes, when you hear Ralph Fiennes, you think Voldemort. But to me, that dude is friggin' hilarious. I've seen, in Bruges, he, dark comedies, he is hilarious.
Yeah, and what was it? Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult, yeah.
He's pretty good in this movie as well, so.
Yeah, that
is what you guys have to look forward to.
Yeah, so The Menu, arguably probably one of the higher rated movies that we're probably going to be reviewing this season.
Like, I was torn in between two, and they both actually start Anya Taylor-Joy. So,
what was the other one?
I was going to do The Witch.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
But that one is an A24 slow burn movie. So,
which we've already
it's one of those movies you got to be in the mood for. So, like,
we know my deal with A24.
Yeah.
But I might have to have us review The Lighthouse at some point.
Oh God, I don't want to watch that again.
I might have to just give it another chance because I want to like it just because everybody else seems to. I feel like I'm missing out on something. Like, am I just not seeing something?
Yeah, we're the only two that just don't get it. Like, jokes on us.
It's I get it, but I don't get the hype. Is all. Like, I get the movie, I get it, but I don't get the hype. Is all.
Same with Hereditary. Like, people are like, oh, it's so scary. I'm like,
if you say so.
Where? Where is the scares here?
Like just because we're throwing in movies that we think everybody, I'll say The Babadook as well for me.
I think it's just the kid's acting takes me out of that movie.
I don't know. It's been a couple years since I've seen The Babadook. I love the way The Babadook looks as a creature, and I love the storytelling, the way it looks like a out of a fairy tale grim adventure kind of thing.
Yeah, and being a metaphor for grief, I understand it. It just
yes, the metaphor, same thing with Lighthouse. The metaphors and allegories I understand it completely, but it's just again, just not my thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, good. Thank you for giving me an excuse to watch The Menu again.
All right.
So if you can't already tell, we're probably going to score this fairly high.
Yeah,
but thanks again for sticking with us, and go watch Tremors. Pay your respects to Burt Gummer.
Yeah, everyone, just go watch Tremors. It's weird. It's like an hour and a half long. It's worth it. All right. Have a good week, everybody.
See ya.
Peace.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Body Bag Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment as to what you'd like to hear us review, or any horror movie topics you'd like to hear us rant and rave about.
And while you're at it, you can find us on Twitter at BodyBagPod and on Instagram at BodyBagPodcast.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time.